Okay, so Act One, or more than Act One, of A Doll's House. I want to know from all of you, and I'm still trying to refrain from saying you guys, from you folks, what is it about it that troubles you so far? Are there things that you're not getting, or are there, or just, and I'm asking this just out of a sense of, it's 150 years old and it's translated from another language, and so if there are things that, you know, catch you up in terms of understanding what's going on, we can talk about those before we get on to thematic content and that sort of thing, I suppose. So anything along those lines? Clear enough so far? Okay. Strange how, you know, Norway in the 1800s is perfectly comprehensible to us here in Canada in 2020. Okay, so what do you think about it so far? Just the broadest question that I can possibly ask. Abby?
I like it.
You like it? It is good. It is good. You can tell that Ibsen is a good writer, and he is very highly regarded and is a famous name among playwrights, and so for good reason. But let me ask you, maybe I'll say even specifically to you, Abby, what do you like about it?
It just feels real. Like you can,
Yes.
it feels real. You can imagine the characters being real people.
It feels real. What you have sort of hit upon there is that it does feel real, and this was a big, big departure from what plays had looked like up until Ibsen, really. So this is the start of kind of a new movement of what plays could be and what they should be. And so it's quite a bit different from what we have seen in Shakespeare, for example, where everything is, in Shakespeare, you know, we can admire parts of it, but the characters never really seem real, right? Like Macbeth and Hamlet and those guys, they don't seem like real people. These characters seem like real people. And somehow that, so I guess where I'm going with that is that this was very controversial when it first came out. Not only because it had a female lead, female protagonist, and for how she conducts herself, and especially for the ending, which I won't spoil for you if you haven't got to yet. But I think that the introduction kind of gives you a good hint about what the ending is going to be. It doesn't matter. But because of the realism of the play, and it's not something that people were used to, and people were very divided over whether or not this was appropriate, right? Whether or not this was a good thing. And now we have Ibsen fests and things like that, where his plays are performed. You know, a different one of his plays is performed every night for a week, and things like that. Like he's a big deal. But What else? What do you think about the characters? Talia, what do you think about Helmer?
Like the, the husband?
Yeah.
I don't know. He's very like, well, I guess it is old, but like old fashioned, like the way he like talks to like his wife and stuff.
Very old-fashioned. Yeah.
Like,
Well, we can read it that way in how he talks to his wife, but calling it old-fashioned is maybe being kind.
Yeah.
What's another way that we could say that, Robin?
He talks like he's in charge of her. Like at the beginning, he called her little girl.
Yeah.
Yeah, he talks like he is in charge of her.
He has all these pet names for her.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so if you think about the title of the play, A Doll's House, it's almost like she's not even a real person. At the very least, he treats her like a child, I think, is the closest equivalent. It doesn't have any, and it's not that he's necessarily unkind to her. He's not abusive, really, or anything like that, but he's extremely condescending. And in no way is there any pretense that she is his equal at all. And so part of this is old-fashioned, and part of this is, the individual characters, I suppose. But Ibsen clearly wanted us to notice that condescending attitude and that treating her like a child. And he clearly wanted us to see that. And even his 19th century audience, he wanted them to recognize that and to feel uncomfortable about it, to feel like this wasn't right. And so we see, we start to see, and we will see, a sort of an evolution of her in the way that she talks and thinks and acts throughout the course of this play. And it doesn't take place over an extended period of time. It's all fairly condensed in its time period. But she, I think the intention and the way that I have always reacted to this play is that I almost, we almost change along with her as we, so at the beginning of the play, she's very much, she almost is what it is that he wants her to be, right? Like, or, or she acts the part that she's expected to act. Like she is just a silly girl sneaking off cookies when no one is looking, right? And so, and she's just accepting of that. And so we start with her accepting of that, and we're like, wow, maybe she's just really dumb or something, right? Like, did you have that thought? Maybe she's just really dumb. She's not really dumb. She is trapped in a role in a society that expects that role for her. And so we see her gradually sort of wrestling with that and trying to adapt to that. I have to stop doing this. I don't know why I keep reflexively doing it. It's not really a big deal, except that I'm always doing it right here next to my microphone, and then when I go to edit the video, I hear click, 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 click all the time. I need to stop fidgeting with pens all the time while I'm talking. Any other thoughts or observations you want to bring up of the beginning of the play? Yeah, Jessalyn?
I thought it was pretty funny how a lot of it was centered around her use of money, like how she just spent everything without thinking and that she always asked him for money, and that was kind of their relationship, was him spending it on useless things.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
things that she thought were important, but he didn't, kind of thing.
Yeah, and that is a really important bit of foreshadowing. It's a really important bit of foreshadowing. Robin?
I was thinking maybe that's because, like, at least at the beginning, when he's like bossing her around all the time, maybe she feels like that's the only thing she might have a little bit of control over, like where their money goes if she asks for money.
Yeah, so as we go along in the play, we're going to learn that there's more to this. And so she's sort of developed this reputation of being irresponsible with money on purpose so that she can cover up the money that she spent to protect him earlier. And we know that because it's a play, he's eventually going to find out about this, right? And his reaction to finding out about this is what's going to be sort of the crucial part.
I
Abby?
interpreted her like constant spending and stuff as like another part of like her sort of dynamic with her husband, because like she's like, I spent like half our rent money on this dress, and he's all like, oh, my wife is so silly and irresponsible.
Yeah, that is part of their dynamic, of their relationship, but it becomes clear later on that she's more or less deliberately cultivated that image. She wants him to think that she's irresponsible with money so that he doesn't question as closely where it goes, because she's been repaying this loan and things like that in secret. It really comes together quite brilliantly. Okay, I don't want to get more into it before you have read the rest of it. I will ask you to read whatever parts you haven't read yet to the end by next class. But for right now, I would like you to read this. I posted 4 articles on the Google Classroom. This is one of them. And I'd like you to, well, I'm not going to say too much more about it. Just read it and think about how recent in history this might be. So is this something that is this year? Is it within the last 10 years? When was this written? What are they talking about?